going on, everybody? It's Monday, which means reverse Q&A day, where I ask all of you a question and then we talk about your responses. So last week I asked a question that I think pertains to all of us as collectors. We're constantly buying cards. So the question is, where is the best place to buy cards for your collection and why? Now, there are a whole bunch of options for us. There's a whole bunch of things out there, places out there that we can pick up cards, right? There's local card shops, there's card shows, there's a bunch of different auction sites. There are Facebook marketplaces, there's social media. There are so many options out there. What's the best? That's the question that we're going to talk about. And I got some great responses, and there were a couple of very common themes. There were a couple of topics that seemed to come up more than the others, which is pretty normal. And then I thought, I think that we're leaving something out. To me, there's a place out there that there are some really, really good deals that people are not taking advantage of. I personally have. So after I talk about the options that all of you threw out there, which are good, they're definitely good suggestions, and I agree with, they don't include a place that I think we all need to incorporate into places that we're looking for cards to add to our collection. So let's go ahead and take a look at the very first response. It's a two-parter because there were several people who had similar responses. So I picked two of them that I thought did a great job of answering the question. Let's look at those two first, and then we'll talk about them. Card shows to the third power. You can bundle and get a better deal, no shipping, no tax, and it shows you never know what you will find for a great deal. Plus one can haggle, and a lot of times get the price down. The best place to buy cards is card shows. You can usually find good deals, and most dealers are willing to negotiate, especially if two dealers you have the same card that you like with the same grade. I always tell them what the other person has it priced at. Also, no tax or shipping costs. All right. Now, no doubt about it, that going to card shows is a blast. We all have a lot of fun going to card shows. And for one, it's a place where we all can meet and congregate with these other people that have similar interests, because sometimes it feels a little isolating being a card collector. That's one of the things that's great about YouTube and other social medias is you can go, oh, there aren't other people. There are other people out there that feel the same way about this stuff as me, that get excited about it like I do, which is awesome. And card shows they're almost like reunions, right? You see people that you're familiar with. You talk about things that you continue conversations from previous events and previous times that you've discussed, and hey, how's this going? And you see these people that you may not see in any other regular basis. So card shows are great for that, but they're also great for getting deals. Right? It's sort of like, an auto mall. And I don't know what it's like all over the country, but in California, at least, there will be, in a few towns, there will be auto malls where there's all of the different car dealers. They all have dealerships right next to each other to draw in buyers from all over the place. And it does do that. If you're going to go buy a car, you're like, well, I'm going to go to the place that has all the dealerships all in one place. So people come from long distances to buy. But then what happens is once you're there, they're competing against each other. And that's what a card show does, right? A card show brings a lot of us to one location to buy, right? If there was one table there, not a lot of people would show up. Just like if there was one car dealership, not as many people would show up. But when they all congregate together, it draws a lot of us buyers there. And then once the buyers are there, the sellers are competing against each other because we have only so much money to make that purchase, just like all the car dealerships are making competition. They're trying to make deals with us because if we don't buy from them, we're probably going to buy from next door. So it puts us in a good situation where it's almost turning the tables. where the sellers are trying to woo us instead of us trying to woo them. And it's a great deal for buyers. And it's a good deal for sellers because they have a lot more traffic. So I do think that card shows are great for us because the sellers are competing for our business. In addition to that, though, there are deals to be had because a lot of the time they have some costs, they have some overhead, they have some table fees, and they want to cover that. They don't want to just show up and go home with every card they showed up with because then they're losing money. They have to sell some things in order to make their overhead back. And so a lot of the times at the very beginning of a show and the very end of a show, you're going to get some really good deals because they're trying to make sure they're covering their costs. They're wondering how much of this they want to pack back up. And like was mentioned, if a couple of dealers have the same card, then what that does for us is it puts us in a great situation because they have to compete for the buyer who's going to buy that card. And if one is in a higher price, it's like the corner that has one gas station, right? They might charge $4 a gallon. But if there's two gas stations and one of them lowers their price a little bit, then the other one has to lower their price, and then the other one has to lower their price. So they're competing for our business. So no doubt about it, card shows are a great place. And then another thing that was mentioned by a few people is it's a lot better making a purchasing decision when the card is in your hands, when you're actually physically looking at the card, because a card is a three-dimensional object, and when we look online, all we see is a two-dimensional picture. And the two-dimensional picture is very limiting. It prevents us from really seeing a lot of surface issues. So we can make better purchase decisions because we can see the product better. And sometimes those sellers are competing for our business. Plus, it's fun. So no doubt about it, card shows, that's kind of the easy answer. I totally agree. There's no doubt that that was the most common response for all of those reasons that we just mentioned. There's another response that I thought was a really good one and something that we do have to consider. So let's take a look at that. I think a diverse array of card sources is ideal. Yes, card shows are probably at the top of the list for value and reducing ancillary costs, but hunting time is limited for specific cards. I just attended a huge 3-day show and never saw the card above that I was looking for due to its relatively low pop count. For that reason, you need to keep your online options open to find those rare beauties. Okay, so this is another really good suggestion, and the addition really is we have to stay open to as many options as possible. Because remember, when we're looking for cards, if we're just looking in one place, we're limiting ourselves. We're limiting ourselves. If we broaden our options, if we broaden the channels in which we can find stuff for our collection, we're going to have a much better chance of landing some of the stuff, right? When I shoot a rifle, I have one shot. When I shoot a shotgun, I have many shots. It has a wider range of hitting my target. That is exactly what opening up several channels does. And I think something that is mentioned in this comment that's especially important is the fact that it talks about for those rare cards. Right? If you're somebody who what you collect is stuff from the junk wax era, the late 80s, early 90s, you probably are going to find everything that you need on eBay. If you go to a card show, there's going to be a lot of stuff there that fits your needs for your collection. No doubt about it. If I want to go buy a 1980 Rickey Henderson rookie card, there are going to be several of them that show up on eBay today and close on eBay today. That is a very frequently purchased card. It's a very common card. High volume, high demand, high supply, and it's something that's constantly being bought and sold. But if you're a collector of Walter Johnson cards, right? A pre-war Walter Johnson, caramel cards, T206s, T205, stuff like that. You're into the pre-war stuff of a player that's in high demand like that, and the cards don't come up that often, then there's no doubt about it. You have to have as many channels open as possible. If you are a Carl Yastrzemski collector, you're going to be able to buy just about any card that you want on eBay, for sure. But if you are a rarer collector of a lower population type of player or card or set, then you want as many places as possible to be able to find the card. Because limiting that is limiting the channels in which it may show up. And also, it may be limiting the deals that you can get. Because if you're just looking at eBay, maybe there are deals happening that you don't even know are happening, right? If you are fully through that eBay marketplace, then who knows what else is happening? And that's the point I want to bring up next. Something that did not come up, at least not that I saw, and I read all the comments, but unless I missed something, there are other auction sites that are so much less used than eBay. There are deals going down. See, we get in these habits, we get in these routines, we drive the same way to work every day, we drive the same way home. But maybe if we took a slightly different route, we would see the new restaurant that went in, on that route that we might try that we never even knew existed. And that's the thing that's happening with some of these other auction sites. PWCC has deals. And a lot of you are saying, well, I've never used PWCC. eBay's fine. Well, the fact that you've not used it is why there are deals. There are a lot of people not using it. Same thing with Goldin. Goldin has a lot of deals going on. And I'm going to show you some of mine here in just a second. And I got some really good deals just by using a less used site, a less used auction site. So if other people are not adapting, they're not moving over to these auction sites, and you do, you will benefit as a buyer. And you say, well, I don't really get it. There's like a buyer premium thing. What is that? There's extended bidding. I don't understand what extended bidding means. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. That's fine. You can stay comfortable with what you're doing. You can just keep doing what you're doing, but you're missing out on deals. Really good deals. And Pristine Auctions is another one. So, and there are more. I'm just listing 3 of the bigger, lesser used ones. Goldin, PWCC, and Pristine. And I mean, this is not an advertisement. I'm just telling you what I use. I've used PWCC. I've used Goldin. I've not used Pristine before. I've looked at their auctions. I've not bought anything before. But there are deals. I'm telling you. So what I want to do to prove it to you, to show you what I'm talking about, and hopefully convince you to try these, is let's look at some of the recent deals that I've gotten on Goldin's site, just Goldin's. Let's take a look at those. Some of the auction houses, especially some of the lesser used ones, have really, really good deals. Goldin, PWCC, Pristine Auction. There are great deals to be had. Trust me, I have benefited from some of them, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. We all think of eBay. eBay's easy, eBay's familiar, we're comfortable with it, we've been using it forever. But if we ignore these other options, we're ignoring some great deals out there. So recently I picked up this 1958 Topps yellow name Hank Aaron in a PSA 2. And I paid $129 for it, and that includes the buyer premium. So that includes all the costs except for the tax. And that's a pretty good deal. Now, if you look comparatively to what it sells for historically on eBay, at least recently. Look at those prices, 185, right around 200 is kind of what it usually is selling for. 199, 200 on the nose, a little above 200. So it's averaging 200 to even 200 plus, and I paid all in 129. So that's a really good deal on a fairly common and high desirable card. How about a Rod Carew rookie? So I found this Rod Carew, and I thought the pictures were phenomenal. I mean, it's really well centered, and it's a PSA 4. To me, that's a really, really nice 4. To me, it looks like a 6. And I paid all in $287. Now, if you compare that to what they generally are selling for, I mean, you got like $450, $425, $375, $355. I mean, it's usually like $375 to $425, and I paid, like $100 less than, more than that, more than $100 less than the average of what this card usually sells for. Now, not all cards sell for that much less on sites like this, and these two were on Golden, and this one's on Golden too. I showed you guys recently this 79 Topps Ozzie Smith. It's a PSA 7 with a Gem Mint 10 auto grade, and all in with the buyer premium, I paid $162. Now, just the card without the autograph would usually sell for over $100 in a 7. And you can see a recent sale here at auction, and auctions usually sell for less, was $295. So again, I paid like $160. That includes the buyer premium. And an auction of the same one, well, it's not the exact same one, but the same grade for the card and the auto at auction on eBay went for $295. So there is savings out there. Again, a lot of us need to look in the mirror and go, are we using these auctions? If not, others aren't either. And if others aren't using it, that means lower prices for us. Guys, the first time you used eBay, it was uncomfortable. The first time you sold on eBay, you didn't really know what you were doing. And now you do it all the time. Whatnot could be added to the list of these. I didn't include Whatnot just because I've talked about Whatnot recently. And it's like, let's talk about some of the other ones that I haven't talked about recently. But you will get comfortable. So what's a buyer premium? A buyer premium is just an extra fee. So you know how when you go on eBay and you know that the seller is getting less than you pay for it because there's a commission. Basically, what the buyer premium is it's the commission that the auction house gets, but instead of the seller paying it, you pay it. And it's a set amount. So you just have to look at that particular auction site. So, it might be like 20% or 15%. So you pay an extra 15%, but you just calculate that into the bid. So if you're bidding on something for $100, you're really bidding like, we'll say $120. If you're bidding on something for $85, you go, okay, I'm bidding $85, but then there's going to be the buyer premium. So the buyer premium's like an extra $15 or so. So it's going to be about $100. But when you do the bid on these auction sites, it tells you what the amount. So you'll type in $100 and then it'll say like $120 with buyer premium. So it's just an extra amount that you have to pay as a buyer. Now, the prices I just showed you, that included the buyer premium. So that was the amount for the card plus the buyer premium. I'm telling you, there are really good deals. Now, the extended bidding, every site is a little bit different, but what extended bidding usually is the auction will be open for a week or two. And then after the week or two is up, anybody who has bid on the card to that point can participate in the extended bidding. Depending on the auction site, it might be 10 minutes, it might be 15 minutes extra. So there's like 15 minutes after the auction has ended where the people who have bid to that point are allowed to keep bidding. And it can bid up the price even more. But the people who have just been sitting on the sideline, those people are no longer involved. They're just observers of any extended bidding auctions. If there's only one bidder, then there wouldn't be extended bidding because there aren't multiple people who qualify for the extended bidding. But to qualify for the extended bidding, you have to be a participant up until that point by having bid at some point. It seems confusing, but it's not. It's really not. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with this new sort of concept and these new sites. At the very least, create accounts and just watch and just see what happens. Favorite some stuff, keep an eye on some cards, see what they sell for. Now, does every card sell for way under comps on eBay? No, absolutely not. Some sell for more, some sell for the same, and some sell for way less. But when there are fewer people participating, because there's no doubt about it, there are way less people that use PWCC or Goldin than use eBay. And because of that, there are fewer buyers. If there are fewer buyers, it is less demand. The supply is the same, but the demand is less. If the demand is less, that means there could be a lower price. I encourage you to check those out. That's my take. That's my strong recommendation. And if you've watched to this point in this video and you haven't already clicked out, I'm telling you, if you try these auction sites, you will benefit and get some good buys. And I look forward to you reaching out to me and telling me the good buys that you make. That does it, except for our question for next week. So let's take a look at what next week's question is. What is the best baseball card set of all time? Not recent, not modern, not vintage, not pre-war. Of all time, out of all of them, what is the absolute best baseball card set ever? Let me know your thoughts. All right, I look forward to hearing your comments. I look forward to reading your responses as to what the best set of all time is and why it's the best set of all time. There are a lot of opinions on this one. Let's talk about it. Let's see what you think. Let's see what the most popular response is. That will be very interesting. I got a couple that I think will be at the top of the list, but you're going to have to let me know in the comments below.